Elden Ring is a bad video game. There is no disputing that at this point, but one of the really weird things I've been seeing lately is just the reaction to my playthroughs of it, right? I have picked up on a little bit of what the Elden Ring community is actually like in regards to my recent PlayStations. And I recently realized I did notice this that everyone was giving me very specific directions on where to go or where to go, what to do. Find this character, kill him, take his weapon, build your stats in this way, go to this location first, right? It was really interesting because if you're going into the game blind, you're not going to go through the linear path that the community lays out for you, right? If you play the game without a guide, like I did, all you'll be doing is just wandering around aimlessly, like in this open world, fighting these weak, boring enemies instead of making any real progress in the game. When you really get down to it, Elden Ring, the only real gameplay in Elden Ring is the boss fights. Everything else you're doing is just grinding and exploring so you can get to those boss fights. But none of that is well executed or interesting. And the boss fights are not worth it, right? They are not good. They're not interesting. They don't have good lore attached to them. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. Dark Souls did have better world building and lore than Elden Ring did. I realized when I was looking at this, when I realized that what most people play this game do, I came to the realization that everybody must be playing this game using a guide because there's no other explanation for this, right? Like when you look at how people spurg out over oh, why is he fighting Margit? Why is he fighting the misbegotten beast now? Why is he doing this? How would you pick and choose where you're supposed to go first without a guide, right? Again, I think this is what the vast majority of the player base must be doing, is going into these games, getting their hand held by a guide, and just breezing through the entire thing using overpowered weapons and equipment, which do exist, but I don't know where they are, I don't know how to take advantage of them, and I don't really care to, right? Because the game just isn't worth playing. I find myself shocked at the sheer amount of games I would rather be playing right now. Stuff like A Plague Tale, stuff like Final Fantasy V, Punch-Out Wii, Super Mario Galaxy 2, Kirby's Epic Yarn. All of them are way better than Elden Ring, right? But Elden Ring is the one that's worshipped, right? Elden Ring is the one that we're told is supposed to be this big, big deal, this big major phenomenon, this big major gaming cultural milestone. It's not. Now that I've actually played it, now that I've seen what the community is like this is another Bloodborne situation, right? In which people are propping up this mediocre game because they really have nothing else to play on their platforms, right? That's what this really comes down to, is that Elden Ring isn't unique or special. Not only can it not compete with Tears of the Kingdom, it also can't compete with all the other Nintendo games coming out, right? How exactly is this such a well-regarded release? Again, it's all hype and no real substance.